Bonjour mesdames et messieurs. In this episode, I'm going to try to teach you the basics of Lightroom in roughly 1 hour. Bonjour mesdames et messieurs, my name is Serge Ramelli. I'm a French photographer living in the amazing, the romantic, the crazy city of Paris, France, and also in the very sunny city of Los Angeles, California. And I make 1 to 2 tutorials per week. Click here if you want to get the raw file for this special episode. This is a crazy episode, trying to teach the basics of Lightroom in 1 hour, or click here if you want to subscribe to my YouTube channel. All right, here's the deal. I tried in 1 hour to teach you the basics of Lightroom. I'm going to import some photo from an SD card. I'm going to show you how to, put keywords, how to sort them, how to retouch them, how to make a book, how to make a slideshow, how to make a little website with it, all that within an hour. I hope you're gonna like this. If you don't know anything about Lightroom, this should be helpful. Of course, I advise you to take my full Lightroom CC complete training, but this should get you started with Lightroom in no time. I'm gonna try to teach you the basics of Lightroom in about an hour and 10 minutes. It's definitely not going deep into the software, but it's some essential data for you to get started. If you're serious about your photography in Lightroom, I advise you to go to my tutorials and purchase the Lightroom CC complete training. It's over 5 hours course. It's really go very deep into Lightroom and all the different modules. If you click here, you can already have it discounted at 37%, but I'm going to give you an additional discount. You can have half, 50% off from its normal $97 price. All you have to do is add it to your cart and use the code. You go then to checkout, the code that's called Serge LR. You're just typing Serge LR, and for limited only, you can get this course at $48 instead of $97. One last thing, if you go to my gear, I have a special deal with Adobe where you can just click here and you can get a very good price on the Adobe Creative Cloud plans. So let's get started trying to teach you Lightroom in about an hour. All right, when you open up Lightroom CC for the first time, you have like an empty screen. And this is what we call a catalog. If you don't have that, you can always go to Lightroom, and you go to File, New Catalog, and then you have a little window where you can save, put a name, and save it wherever you want. I already have done that. I have a catalog which is completely empty, which is what you would have if you're just starting with Lightroom. So we're going to start very simple. I have an SD card which is connected to my laptop, and I'm going to basically I'm going to use Lightroom to transfer the photos from my SD card to my hard drive, and I'm going to catalog them in the same time, meaning that I'm going to refer them in my catalog, and you will understand why, and I'm going to give them keywords in the same time. So to basically import your first photo, you just go to File, Import Photos and Videos, and mesdames et messieurs, it is absolutely crazy. The way it works is like this. Here on the left, you've got all the devices which is connected to your computer. There I have an iPhone that's connected. I'm going to go to my SD card, which is here, and I'm going to include subfolders. Okay, so this is my internal hard drive, this is an external hard drive, this is another external hard drive, this is another external drive, and this is an SD card. Okay, that SD card has got all these photos inside. They are right now on the SD card. I want to put them somewhere in my hard drive. Now, where do I decide that? I'm going to decide this here. But you see, I've got different photos of Paris which are already retouched that we're going to be using for making books and slideshows. And then I have some photos that I want to use as a retouching, to retouch. So basically, the thing which is very important, and that happens often, when you go, like you shoot a wedding, you shoot a landscape, you shoot some friends, you have a whole bunch of photos on your SD card. It is good to take the discipline to import them subject, topic by topic, and put in keywords as you go. This way it's going to be easier for you to find them later on. Let me show you what I mean by that. So first thing I'm going to click on Uncheck All, because I don't want to import all of these photos. So Uncheck All is going to make all these photos unmarked. Let me put this bigger so you can see. And then I'm going to go and I'm going to click not add. I don't want to add, because if I add, it's going to keep them on my SD card and just refer them in my catalog. I want to copy them. And even better, I want to copy them as DNG. Why? Because when you copy as DNG, basically DNG is raw files which is the same quality than your brand new raw file, like CR2 on Canon, NEF on Nikon, ARW on Sony, same quality except your files are smaller and they will be compatible with any software from here on out because it's kind of the standard. So just for the space, I always copy in DNG. Okay, next is I'm going to go to my BB3 Red, which is my hard drive, and I already have a folder that I've called, let me see, it's actually up here. It's called Master Lightroom. Okay, so I'll show you something. If you are inside a directory, if you want to go back to the parent directory, you just double click on the one which is white, and it's going to take you to the parent. Now I am at the root of my hard drive, and here is Master Lightroom, which I'm going to use. Now I want to put all these Paris photos first into a Paris folder. So I have to right click and click on create a new folder, and I'm going to use this option new folder and call it Paris. Okay, now what I want to do is I'm going to click on the first photo, and I'm going to hold on the shift key until the last photo and click on check. Now all these photos they are JPEG, so I don't need to be as DNG. I'm just going to use copy. But what I am going to do is I'm going to give them a keyword. I'm going to call this Paris France. I'm giving them two keywords, the keyword Paris and the keyword France. Okay, and I'm just going to click on import. And what that's going to do is going to take this JPEG and put them onto my hard drive, my main external hard drive that I use. Okay, and you can see here on the left now in folders, you've got BB3 Red, which is that external folder, and you got that subfolder called Paris that has 11 photos, which is what we just imported. Let's carry on. I'm going to go to File, I'm going to go to Import, and now I'm going to go to the SD card again because include subfolders. Now I want to, these are Los Angeles photos, so I'm going to uncheck all. This is Los Angeles, it's actually pretty close to Los Angeles, and all this. So I'm going to click here, and the only reason why I'm doing it in several paths is just for the keywords. But it's a good habit. It always happens that on your SD card you've got different topics. And so, and also to show you how you can create folders. So now in Master Lightroom, I'm going to right click, I'm going to create a new folder that I'm going to call Los Angeles. Okay, and basically I'm going to take this raw files and I'm going to copy as DNG. Well, there already are DNG files because I had already used them, compress them as DNGs, but if they wouldn't be, I would still copy them as DNGs. So I'm just going to click on import. So I'm referring them into my catalog, I am transferring them onto my hard drive, and I'm giving them keywords all in the same time. Let's carry on. We're almost there. Import photos and videos, and let's go to the SD card again. Let's click on include subfolder, so it takes everything. I have two more. That's from Carmel. It's California Coast, and this is from Las Vegas. So I'm going to do two more. I'm going to take these two ones, and I'm going to check here, and then I'm going to go in that folder, create a new folder that I'm going to call Carmel, and we're going to be retouching all this in this course. Carmel, choose, and voila, Carmel. So these are DNG files, but I keep us copy as DNG. Actually, this one is a RRW file, which is a Sony RAW file, and this one is a DNG file, which is fine. So I'm going to copy them. So it's going to, in the same time that it's going to copy this one, is going to be transformed into a DNG. Okay. And so as I do that, now you can see there's 18 photos in my catalog, and you can see here on my folder the structure is starting to become Carmel 2 photos, Los Angeles 5 photos, Paris 11 photos. Okay. All right, so now let's bring the last set of photos. So File, Import Photos and Videos again. And we should only have the Las Vegas photo left because we imported everything else, which is cool. All right, perfect. So now I'm just a copy as DNG. And on this one, because I made a little break, I lost where I was, but I'm in Master Lightroom. I'm going to right click, create new folders, still on that hard drive, new folder, and Las Vegas. Las Vegas, Vivo Las Vegas. Okay, and choose copy as DNG and import. Okay, so it's going to import these photos, and voila. So now before we get into the retouching, I want to talk to you about finding your photos. Now we got 21 photos, and each one have metadata with it because we gave it some keywords as we imported. Now imagine you have 100,000 photos, but every time you did this, so when you want to find a photo, the best is that you go here in the library module. On the left, you go to all photos. Now we only have 21, but if you go to photos, library, find, you see it says Command F, or you can press Command F, and you have a whole field there, and you can just type, for example, Las Vegas, and boom, we got the 2 Las Vegas photo. Or we can type Paris, and we got all the Paris photos, etc., etc. Las Vegas and Los Angeles, and we should have all of Los Angeles photos. So that's the idea. Of finding the photos. You can also find photos, and I do that very often. Like, let's say I'm looking photo that I shot like last May. I know I was using the Sony A7S. You can go into metadata, and you can go to date. For example, I'm going to take 2015. Well, there's only 4 photos, which is in August. But let's say if I had a lot more photos, I would have every month of the year there. I can click on August, and I just have the photos which were taken in August 2015. Or, I can go 2012 and I only have the photos that were taken in March 2012. So if you remember the date, you can find the photo. Because when you take the photo, that data is written in the metadata, which is invisible information embedded in the photo. Okay, so now let's do some retouching. Let's start by Carmel, California. Okay, and I'm first going to go with this one, which is a classic sunset photo. Now I have this way of doing sunset where I kind of underexpose them because I'm shooting with a Sony DSLR, which is pretty powerful in terms of dynamic range, but most of the DSLR today are pretty good with that. And so my workflow is as follows, mesdames et messieurs. The first thing that I do is I always have this routine where I open up the shadows, because this is basically gonna, attack a very specific part of your photos. Shadows is shadows. That's all it is. The darkest part of your photo gets, shed some light on. And then I'm going to bring down the highlights, which is the brightest part of the photo, make that a bit darker. Okay, then I'm going to press the Alt key on my keyboard and use my black slider. Now, the black slider, when you hold on the Alt key and you move to the left, the screen is going to be completely white. And what you see here in black, red, or yellow is pixels which are crushed to 100% pure black. So you want some in your photo, something like this. You don't want too much like this. You want a little bit. It's called making a black point. So wherever you see some spot there, these spots are 100% pure black. And if I press the Alt key and go on the white, I can see that as I move to the right, all you see in red is points which are 100% white. You don't want that much. I usually actually don't want any. I don't want any of this white because it means that these pixels are completely burned. I can handle having a little bit of black but not the white. So with this one I'm going to back it down. Okay, and maybe I open up the shadows a little bit too much. I want to give it like a feeling of a end of evening type of photo. And on this one then you can have here you have the different white balance. Now as a warning, these settings on white balance only work with RAW files. If you have a JPEG file, it's not going to work. But I'm going to give you a few RAW files for free with this course if you subscribe to my daily newsletter, so you can play around with them. Okay, so like daylight is going to make this photo a bit blue. You see basically what it does, it's like preset where it changes the temperature and the tint. The temperature to the left makes everything blue, to the right everything warm. Okay, and the tint, everything to the left is very green and to the right very magenta. So if I go to daylight, well, that's the default daylight figure. I usually choose my white balance. That's cloudy and that's shade. It's going to be a bit warmer. I usually do it based on an artistic decision, not based on a, like, oh, it was shot in daylight, I should put it in daylight. So I think I'm going to go for shade on this one and just add a little bit of magenta. I think I'm going to add a bit of vibrance. So vibrance and saturation makes the color more vivid, but saturation does it equally for all the colors. Vibrance does it with a brain trying to select which ones needs to be saturated more than other ones. So I usually use like vibrance more than saturation. I like when, sunsets, especially this one was quite amazing, when the sunsets are very strong. Okay, so now the only last two sliders we haven't looked is exposure. So exposure to the left is going to make the entire photo darker or brighter. I think I'm just double click on it to go in the middle. I'm not going to touch it. And contrast is going to boost the contrast in case you don't know what the contrast is. It's the difference between the darkest part of the photo and the brightest part. When you add contrast, you make things which are dark, darker, and things which are white, water. It gives also more saturation at the same time. And so if you want to see the before and after, you just press the backslash key on your keyboard and it gives you the before and the after, before and after. It's not my favorite photo, but it's a cool photo and I want to show it to you. So that's the basic panel of Lightroom. We're going to tackle some more of these panels in the next photos, but that's it. Now, when you finish with a photo, I advise you, this is my system, to give it a star rating. Usually this one, I'm going to give it, when I retouch, when I select the photo to be retouched, I give it a 1 star. That's my system. And once I retouch it, I give it a 2 star. If I find it's really nice, I'm going to give it a 3 star. So for now, I'm just giving it a 2 star. Let's jump over to the next photo. And this time we're going to go black and white. I'm not going to explore all the options of retouching. I'm just giving you like the essential, some flavor of retouching. So same thing on this one. I'm going to open up the shadows, bring down the highlights, and I'm going to do my black point. Remember to hold on the Alt key until I've got a black point. And I'm going to do a white point. Okay, I want a little bit of white points. So now check it out. Before and after with the backslash key, more contrast. But you know, I like the long exposure. I shot this, you know, with an ND filter. So I had 2 seconds of exposure at f22 ISO 50. For, you know, to get a long exposure, you need to have your ISO the lowest possible, which is on my Sony it's 50. Close your aperture the maximum that you can. On my Sony it's 22. And then you put on the filter, and it just stops the light from coming, and it forces during daylight to have a long exposure. So that was kind of cool. You know, then I get this sort of water thing. I don't like these colors, like the daylight blue color. I think it's boring. I'm going to close this. And so I'm going to go for black and white. So to go to black and white, all you have to do is go to the HSL, which means hue, saturation, and luminance, color or black and white. I'm going to go to black and white. And just to explain you, hue, saturation, and luminance, hue means the color. When you change the hue of a color, you change the type of the color. You go from a red to yellow. That would be changing the hue. Saturation is making a color less or more vivid, and luminance is making a color more or less or more darker. Let me give you an example with the blue here. If I go to the hue and I take my blue and go there, anything which is blue is going to become green. Okay, I'm changing the hue. I'm going to double click to undo this. If I go on saturation on the blue again, if I go left, I'm going to make my blue desaturated, more toward the black and white. And on the right, I'm going to make my blue more vivid. So that's what saturation is, making things more or less vivid. Luminance. If I take my blue again, because there's a lot of blue in this photo, if I go to the left, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my blue darker. When you make the blue darker, they become also a bit saturated. So it's just the color is darker. When I go to the right, I'm going to make my blue brighter. Okay. So that is what hue, saturation, luminance is. Now I'm going to go to black and white, which is going to make my photo black and white. And here you have different sliders. Now remember that color, that photo is very blue. So I'm going to play around with the aqua and the blue. If I take my blue to the left, it's going to take anything which is blue and make it darker. You see how it makes the sky more blue? But one thing I advise you is not to go over like 20 or 25. Because if you go too much, what's going to happen, it's going to make some weird pixel in the sky. So you don't want that, like here, for example. I don't know if you can see, but it like here, it's kind of a weird thing. So the way to not do that is to go like -20. I like the idea of having a dark sky, but I usually don't go over 30 on these things. And you can either do that, you know, like for example, this photo's got no red. So if I play around with it, oh yeah, actually, you see, there's a bit of red there. I'm sorry about that. So I can decide if I want that red brighter or darker, but don't go over 30 on these values to be on the safe side of life. Orange, it's got a lot of orange because of the sky. So I think I'm going to go -25 on the orange. Yellow, it must have a lot of yellow also because of the sun, so -16. Green, not much green. And aqua, there must be a bit of aqua. Oh, I'm going to go on the right on aqua. And the blue, I'm going to go with a lot of blue, so I'm going to go at -29. That maximum, I don't go over 30. Okay, purple, let's see if there's any purple there. Oh, there's a bit of purple. But I'm going to go -9 on this, and magenta. I'm just trying to make things a bit darker. Okay, another way you can do it is take this little tool. It's called the target tool, and you can just click on the sky and go up or down and it does the same thing. It detects whatever is under the mouse and it's going to make it brighter or darker. So that's doing a black and white conversion in Lightroom, but it's not finished. Let's explore some of the local tools. So I'm going to take, for example, the brush tool here. And the way the brush tool works is that you have a brush where you decide a size here. That's the size. That's the feathering. You see, there's one circle and there is two circles. Feathering is, I would just advise you to use 100 so that we don't see so much your brush stroke. And then flow and density is the power of your brush, to make it simple. I usually always leave it around 90. Then I'm going to go to exposure. By selecting one of these settings here, it's going to put everything down to 0 but the exposure. So you see the exposure is a bit up. I can also use the middle mouse to make that brush smaller or bigger, and I can just paint. And I'm just going to dodge. Dodging means I'm going to make some part of the photo brighter. I just want to make this water a little bit brighter, maybe that sky here a little bit brighter. I think it's more interesting, maybe even more. Okay. And then I'm going to click new for a new brush, and I'm going to go the opposite. I'm going to burn, meaning I'm going to make some part darker. So I lower the exposure, still feather 100, flow and density 90. And I'm just going to, just to bring more texture into the rocks, I'm going to make some of the rocks a bit darker. It's just going to make the photo more interesting. It's going to, what we call a local contrast. It makes that the light is a bit different. I find it pretty cool. Okay, and if you want to see before and after all the brushes, you can just click here, before and after the brush. And that's called doing dodge and burn. Another local tool that we're going to be using is this one, the graded filter. It's the same principle. You've got all the settings you find in a basic panel, and you can apply it locally. But the way it works is, let me click and hold on the shift key. It's going to make a gradient that starts here at 100%, and as it goes to the last line, it's going to go by gradient. So if I lower the exposure, that exposure value will be in full strength from 0 to here, and from that line is going to go on a gradient. But I can move my gradient, I can make my gradient bigger, smaller, and I can move my gradient. And I'm just trying to I'm going to make it smaller, the top of the photo a bit darker, kind of like that. And I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to press shift and boom, using the same value, I'm doing another one at the bottom. I just want to close the photo, making the photo darker on top. In the bottom is going to make things darker. Now I had a big issue with this photo is I had some water drops on my ND filter, and you see it ruined the photo. It added here some things, and that's something is some marks here. Looks like brushed strokes. That's something we'll be dealing later on in Photoshop, because we cannot do this in Lightroom. However, here you see sensor spots, and this can completely be solved with the sensor brush here. Make sure it's on heel. Okay, feather 100%, opacity 100%. Make it a bit bigger than the sensor dust, and boom, they're gone. Okay, and we're gonna see another panel on this one. So I'm not gonna take a curve, but we saw this one, and then I'm gonna go to details. Detailed is a good one. Detailed is the one about noise reduction and sharpening. Now this photo does not have so much noise, but so I want to sharpen it. Usually when there is, I'm going to put the sharpening around about 80, and when you do the sharpening around it brings back noise. So then I'm going to do my noise reduction around 20, and so that it takes out the noise again. However, you see the sharpening did some things weird here in the sky, and I only want the sharpenings on the rocks. So there's a very nice trick in Lightroom where you can just hold on the Alt key and move your masking slider to the right, and anything which is black is not going to get sharpened. And I don't want anything to be sharpened that's black. So the sky, I just want the rocks. So basically I'm moving to the right until the white is only on the rocks. So now I've got a very sharp rocks and non-sharp sky, which is perfect. Exactly what I want. Okay? So, and the next one is lens correction. This one I'm just going to go very simple on. You have three things, which the two first, on the basic tab here, enable profile correction and remove chromatic aberration. Boom. That's enable profile correction. Look at the difference. It's just going to make the problems with my lens kind of solved. And so my lens was creating like a little vignetting effect, a little, making everything a bit round. So it's going to undo that. Very slight changes, but it's kind of nice. And remove chromatic aberration is not needed because it's a black and white. And chromatic aberration is not on black and white photo. It's little, you know, lines of red, of green you have sometimes around the edges when it's backlit. But honestly, with the latest lens, the latest DSLR, you have this less and less, which is cool. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with this photo. Maybe add a little contrast, and we've got a nice black and white. Let's do the before and the after. Before, after. Okay, so I'm going to give this one a 3 because I really like this one. So, oh, by the way, to make a 3, I type 3 on my keyboard, or you can go right-click, set rating 3. Okay, all I did was type 3 on my keyboard. I thought it was more straightforward. Oh, I forgot. I want to show you this. You see here, there's some lines, and this can only be dealt with in Photoshop. So I'm going to right-click, edit in Adobe Photoshop CC 2015. I'm going to show you something that's very simple to do in Photoshop. This is not a tutorial on Photoshop. I'm going to take my background layer, drag and drop it on the new creation of layer icon here. And you see here there is some strike there. So the best tool probably is to take the clone stem tool, and I'm just going to press the Alt key, and I'm going to sample what's there and just put it over here and brush. And using the same value, I'm going to brush, and it's just going to take that out. It just copied what was there, and it did, and copied there. Oh, here we have something weird I have to look at, so make sure you don't create weird patterns. But the good thing about sky is that it's so random that, you know, you can get away with a lot. Okay, show you the before and the after. Now these lines, that's something you couldn't do really in Lightroom. That's something you can do in Photoshop. So once you've done with your Photoshop job, you can just go to File, Close. And if you want to know more about Photoshop, check out my Photoshop for Photography course on photosearch.com. It will take you from nothing to Photoshop to being able to use it pretty well. Okay, so now that's the final result. What I can do is I can take the original photo and click on Reset, so that we can really see the before and after. So that's the before, and that's the final photo, the final black and white, kind of a little artsy black and white. All right, let's carry on. We'll go to Library, and let's go to Las Vegas. Now this one is going to be a really cool one. This is a photo that I shot in Las Vegas last week when I was there for Photoshop World, and I wanted to go see the show with the Beatles, and I couldn't get in. I mean, it's not couldn't get in. It was only on the weekends, and Photoshop World was during the week, so it was not open. But anyway, I love this sort of trees they have in front of the with the waterfall that I have in front of the hotel, and we had an amazing sunset. So I'm going to show you what I call a Vertorama. Basically, I shot one photo using the barrier that was there, so I could get a 1.3 second exposure because I wanted the fountain to be very silky. And then I shot another one by hand at 1/25th of a second so I could get the top of the photo. Okay, and all I'm going to do now, so I've got two photos, one up, one down. I'm going to select both, right click, photo merge, panorama. And this is something I do over and over again when I don't want to wide angle something too much because I don't like the wide angle distortion, is I take, 1, 2, 3, 4 photos, up and down, left and right, however you want it. Lightroom is going to figure it out and put them together. Okay, once you're in Panorama, there is not that many options. The first one is Auto Select Projection. Projection is just different ways of stitching your photos. So here is the proposal of Lightroom is to do spherical. Let's look at cylindrical. I believe cylindrical is going to be even more rounded. Well, not much of a difference, to be honest. And then let's check the last one. Yeah, cylindrical, spherical is pretty good. Let's check perspective. Perspective is going to be drastically different. You know what? On this one, I actually like perspective. I think perspective is better. I don't like how spherical is making that building, the Mirage Hotel, completely rounded here. I don't like that. I like more perspective. So the one that was auto-selected was not good. And auto-crop, well, means what it is. It's going to crop your photo because you see when you merge and stitch photos, you got a lot of white information because like lack of information here. So by auto-cropping, it's just going to crop whatever it can use and merge. And the beauty of it, and that's something that's totally new, is that I'm still working with the raw file, meaning I can just first stitch everything and then choose my white balance. In the past, I used to have to choose my white balance on every photos, then stitch the photos. And then if I didn't like the white balance, it was too late. I couldn't change it anymore. So it's creating a panorama, and panorama does not have to be from left to right. It can be up and down, and I actually do it very, very, very often. Okay, and we're going to be retouching this panorama. So it takes a little bit of time because, but at the end of the day, it's going to create a file called untitled-1-pano, and it's still a DNG file, so it's still a raw file, and so we still have all the settings. Here we go, all the settings on on retouching raw files, meaning the white balance and everything. So let me do my workflow on this one. I'm going to open up the shadows as usual. Okay, and now I'm not going to bring down the highlights because by opening shadows I find it too dark. So I'm going to first boost the exposure and then bring down the highlights. Okay, then I'm going to do my black, sorry, with holding down the Alt key. Okay, and then I'm going to do my white, yeah, a little bit, and maybe add a bit of contrast. Okay, now I don't like that this rock is there, halfway cut, so I'm going to take my crop tool and I'm going to recrop this, maybe have a little less water so we are more on the hotel itself. Pretty good. I want to do some more with it. Let's check the white balance. So daylight, I like daylight on this one. Cloudy, it's going to make it warmer, and shade. Now I'm going to go to daylight. Okay, one thing I didn't show you is clarity. Clarity on the right is going to give a very HDR type of look, or very strong contrast, and on the left is going to make it very fuzzy, very diffused. Now when you do the plus 100 and the minus 100, usually it gives a little too much of a contrast, too much of an illustrative, like it looks like a cartoon. So by doing a minus clarity on it, I find that you give natural back, which I like. Then I'm going to take a brush, okay, boost the exposure, and I'm just going to paint over the water because I want the waterfall to be the star of this photo. I want it to be much more brighter, like this. Good. And then I'm going to show you another thing, another local filter which is really cool, which is here, the radial filter. I'm going to get this radial filter, same thing. You can choose whatever you want. I'm going to take exposure, which is usually what I use the most. And I'm going to make a circle. Now, when I move to the right, the exposure, you see everything becomes brighter except what's in the circle. And if I go left, everything becomes darker except what's in the circle. I don't want this behavior. I want the reverse. I'm going to invert the mask. And now if I go right, everything becomes brighter is only in the circle or darker in the circle. So I'm going to boost a little bit how bright that is. And I'm going to add some clarity this time. I'm going to add some clarity because I like that clarity, but not everywhere, just locally. And I'm going to make this a bit brighter. Right click, duplicate. So now I have the same circle with the same value, put it here, right click, duplicate, and all I'm trying to do is brighten up some part of this photo to make it more interesting, so that we don't have such an even lighting. You know, an object which is partially lit is nicer than an object which is fully lit. Duplicate, and that's going to be a drastic change. Okay, check it out. Before and after. Now it's a bit too much, but you can take every single circle and just lower the value of the exposure. Okay, this one is too much also. Everything that we do is completely non-destructive. I can reverse. And no pixel has been hurt in this retouching. It's all I'm doing is basically using non-destructive tools, which is just instructions saying I just want more light here. Okay, that's cool. Now let me show me the before and after these filters. I'm done with this tool, and backslash key so you can see the before and after everything. Quite a change. Okay, but we're not done here. Let's continue and let's explore even more the lens correction. Let's enable the profiles correction. Okay, it's going to take the vignetting out. Let's remove chromatic aberration. Now I'm going to jump in here and see if we have any chromatic aberration. Oh yes, we do a little bit. You see, there's a little bit of red here. If I press remove chromatic aberration, it should take this out. And if it does not, then you can go to colors here and you can decide. You see it's in the reds, so I'm gonna, the hue that I want to take out in chromatic aberration is here on the right, is the reds here, so that's the purple hue I'm looking for, and I can just amount the fringe, and you see now it took it out. Well, it's a bit too much, but I don't have that. You know, when you make a big print and you see this little red or green lines around, it's kind of not nice, you know, not nice at all. Oh, while I'm there, let's talk about noise reduction. This one was really underexposed because I had no tripod. I mean, I had a tripod, but I couldn't put it down. There was so much people around the barriers. So it's a bit noisy. So I'm going to, same thing, I'm going to do the noise like around 25. And remember, I've got this good old formula where I'm taking 100 and I'm taking out whatever I put here. So it's going to be like around 75 of sharpening. Okay, but when I do that, okay, 74 is fine. When I do that, now I get noise back in the sky. So remember to do the masking with holding the Alt key. And anything which is black is not going to get sharpened. I want the whole sky to be black. Boom. Okay, now we've got no noise and we've got a good sharpened photo, especially where there is rocks. We have a good sharpening there, you know, here. And, well, the bottom part is a bit blurry, actually, because it was a long exposure, but it's still fine. It was just more to show you what we can do, and the topest part is probably, but it did a pretty good job. You'll see, I'm going to give these to raw files to play around with. Okay. So now, back to the lens correction. Let's do the auto upright, see what it can do. Upright, okay, off, auto, it doesn't do much. So what doing upright took out our cropping that we did. All I'm trying to do is make these buildings not so crooked, so we can go to manual if upright doesn't work, and play around with the vertical. If I go the whole way, it's going to make everything straight. I don't want to go too much. But I can tell it needs a little bit of rotation, because you see how this building leans like this, you know, like from left to right, and this building is leaning from left to right also, but this one should go from right to left. So I'm going to rotate my photo until both buildings lean the same way and that the trees are straight. Yeah, maybe a bit too much. I want roughly them to lean the same thing. Okay, perfect. Okay, and then vertical. Let me show you the before and after. The lens correction before and after. You see how the building is more straight. Now I'm going to still click on constraints crop. Okay, and actually it did a good job. It did a whole new cropping, but I kind of love the new cropping that it did. Okay, perfect. And this one I might do some post-crop vignetting. What that is it's a whole different panel here. But to make it simple, when you go to the left, it's going to make a little vignetting on your photo, and to the right, it's going to add some white. Just want a little bit of vignetting so that the viewer can go really inside of the photo. Okay, now I'm going to go back to my general setting. I think I'm going to boost a little bit the exposure even more and add a bit more contrast. Yeah, and I kind of like that. That's a really Las Vegas type of photo. Let me show you the before and the after. Okay, this one I'm going to give you the 3, so I'm just pressing 3 on my keyboard. Okay, let's jump over to Los Angeles, California. And I'm first going to work on this photo, which is a photo of the, it's a very long exposure photo. I think it was like 2 minutes, 100 seconds, almost 2 minutes at f10 with a very strong ND filter. And I want to show you a little bit of retouching. So I'm going to open up the shadows, bring down the highlights, do my white black point and my white point. Okay, and you don't have to use the Alt key. You can just do it like, you know, you decide what you like. Let's see the white balance, daylight. The light is pretty cool, but I think it's too saturated. I'm going to lower the saturation on this one and maybe lower the clarity. Okay, use a brush. I'm going to make a brush to boost the exposure here on the water. I like that, maybe a bit too much. Okay. Let's go right away to the upright function in the lens correction. I want to see what upright is going to give me. Upright, click on auto. What kind of, yeah, not bad. Then I'm going to go to the crop tool, and I think I'm going to crop it right around the white here. I think it's going to be more powerful. Okay. And I think I'm going to lower the exposure on this one, the saturation even more. And I want to show you one more option on this one, which is cool. One panel I haven't showed you, which is a split toning. Now the way split toning works is that sometimes when you have a photo that the colors are not so interesting, instead of going instead of going to black and white, which is what I usually like to do when the colors are boring, you can add colors. So the way it works is that you got two box here. One is highlights and one is shadows. If I click on the highlights, I can go around and pick a color here, anywhere on the color wheel. I'm going to take something warm, for example, like this. And I'm going to add that color in anything which is the highlights, anything which is bright. Here on shadows, I can add a color anywhere, but in the shadows, in the darkest part of the photo. So I'm going to go reverse. I'm going to add some kind of blue, a little bit of blue in the darkest color. Once you've done that, you can fine-tune your saturation by going. If I go left, I'm taking out the saturation in the highlights. If I go right, I'm adding some saturation. So I'm going to add some. And same thing here. If I go left, I'm going to take out some saturation in the shadows or some. And then you can also play around with the hue like this if you want to, or with the balance. Balance is going to be like on the left, it's going to make the whole photo more towards the shadows, so the shadow color, which is the blue, and on the right, more toward the yellow. Now I don't like that yellow that I want maybe something more reddish, but less saturated. Something like this, and I think my blue is slightly too much saturated. Yeah, so you can give it like a sort of an Instagram type of look. Okay, I'm going to take a brush, and I think I'm going to add more brush stroke on the water. I really want that water to be really bright here. I think it's interesting because that's really something, a phenomenon I got by having this very long exposure. Maybe it's a bit too much, but you can do other things. I can make this brighter, but I can also do a little minus clarity so it's even more fuzzy, and I can even do some noise reduction in it because there's a lot of noise. Okay, and maybe I'm just bringing this back up a little bit. Yeah, I want this to be like a pretty fantasy type of photo, and make this a bit brighter like this. Okay, voila. And voila, just give it a look, give it a surreal look. Maybe I'm gonna go even less saturated, like this. I kind of like that. It's strange colors, but it's a cool photo. I'm gonna give it a 3. Okay, then we come to a panel that I did. That's a very classic panel. I went from right to left, and it's a place that I found in Los Angeles at the Griffith Park, where this gentleman has his house and he's got this amazing view on downtown Los Angeles. I wanted to show this to you in a panorama. So I'm going to select all 4 photos. I'm going to right click, right click photo merge panorama. And then I'm going to create a panorama out of these 4 photos. And let's see what it's proposing. So spherical, let's see the difference between spherical or perspective. I think on this one I'm going to go to spherical. I think I like more the look that it has. Okay, and I'm going to click on merge, and it's going to merge. I'm going to put on pause until it's merged. Okay, so the panorama is created, and you see the name is now called, because it was called Untitled 1, 2, 3, 4, and now it's called, this one's called Untitled-2-Pano. And here is now where I start the retouching. So I go to the develop module. Same thing, open up the shadows, bring down the highlights. Now on this one, not so much because it's too dark. So maybe I'm going to boost the exposure first and then bring down the highlights. Yeah, maybe. I'm going to do my black point. I'm going to do my white point. And then let's check out. That's daylight. Not bad. Cloudy. Okay, shade. Now you know what? I'm going to go for daylight. I like the kind of blue that it gives. Maybe just add a little bit of yellow. And then I'm going to take a little brush, and on that brush I'm going to add a bit of of yellow and a bit of magenta, and I'm not exposure. And I'm going to paint some colors because the sun was here, and it's kind of somehow the white balance took everything out. I'm just painting a little bit. So I'm painting colors on my photo to just bring back some of that sun that was there, to make it more pop and rock and roll. Okay, so that's pretty good. Let me show you the before and after. That's where we are. Clarity on this one, I'm going to do a little minus clarity, but I'm going to add some vibrance to make the photo pop even more, because I'm crazy about saturation. I usually use vibrance. Vibrance and saturation are very similar, except vibrance does it more intelligently than saturation. Let's put it this way. Okay, let's enable the profile correction, remove chromatic aberration in case there is any. And now I'm going to show you post-crop vignetting. Post-crop vignetting is you can actually add a little vignetting effect. I'm going to do it too much so you can see. Basically, it's going to make all the surrounding of the photo a bit darker. I kind of like that. I think that's kind of cool. And with the brush, you can really brush anything. Let's say I wanted downtown to come out a bit more. I can take a brush and I can go to clarity, boost the clarity, and just paint a bit of clarity here on downtown, so we can see it better. In the same time, I can even boost the exposure so that some more attention is being brought to this part, because the eyes gets drawn to the brightest part of the photo. But it's an interesting panorama. So this one, I'm going to give it a 4. Okay, so you see in very little time we retouched a lot of photos. So if I go back to the library module and click on this little thing here, well, it's already there. Now I got 23 photos. I can click here and this is all the photos that I have. If I want to see just the photos I've retouched, I know they have a value of 2 and above. So I can just go here in my filter and click on 2, and by default it's going to show me all the photos that have 2 and above. Well, some are the Paris photos which are there. They already had stars in it because from an earlier time I used them. But otherwise, we've got this long exposure that we retouch, this panel that we retouch, that black and white that we did with a bit of Photoshop, that first sunset, and I'm thinking that it's lacking of contrast, so I can just go to the develop module, just add a bit of contrast. And then this Las Vegas crazy photo of the Mirage Hotel. Okay, now I'm done with the retouching, and let's say that I want to use this photo for my Facebook page. Well, the best thing to do this from Lightroom is you right-click, export, click on export, and first thing is you decide to choose where you're going to put it. I'm going to put it on my desk. No, all right, I'm going to go to BB3, Master Lightroom. I'm going to create a new folder that I'm going to call export, okay? And, or actually, you know what? I'm going to call it, export. And there I could rename the photo as I go out, but I don't want to do that. I'm going to choose JPEG because it's for Facebook. And I know that you see the biggest screens in the world now are about 2,500 pixels wide. So on resize to fit on long edge, which is the longest edge, I'm going to put 2,500. That's the value I usually use for Facebook or 500px, any blog, as long as it's to be displayed on the screen. Okay, quality, I usually leave it around 70 and click on export. Boom. Now, the cool thing about it is, let's say that I wanted to put this one on Facebook with all the same settings. I could just right-click, export, and export with previews. And if we go to the Finder, and we go to that hard drive, here, Master Lightroom, and export, you will see that we have the 2 photos. I forgot to rename them, but that's fine. One is called Untitled Pano, which is this one. And this one is, and both of them are, have a size of a width of 2,500 pixels and 1,670 for this one. And this one is different because it was more of a square format, so it's 2,500 by 2,200. But they're ready to be put on Facebook. Now let's say that I want to make a nice black and white print on this one. I actually think this one needs more contrast. I'm going to add contrast. Boom. Here you go. And I want to send it. I want to send it to mpix.com, Bayphoto. All these websites, what they need is the highest JPEG quality possible. You don't need to give them TIFF files or anything. You can, but most of them now use JPEG. So you can export, and this time I'm going to put it in the same folder, except maybe I'm going to go add a subfolder called print, and I'm going to use, I can use JPEG, but put the quality of 100, or if you want, 95, but not below that. They need the best quality possible. If you want, and if you have a very fast connection to internet and you want to give them the best possible job, you can also choose TIFF file. Make sure the color space you use is RGB, whether it's the web or the print. Now, everybody uses sRGB. Some of them use also Adobe 98 or Pro Colors, whatever. But the most common one is sRGB. So leave this one on. Compression, you can do zip. It's going to make your file smaller, and bit depth 16. And boom, you click export, and it's going to export a huge file, but I don't recommend to do that. I use JPEG, so I'm just going to use the same settings. I'm going to take a JPEG so you can see the difference. I'm going to use like 94%, which is fine. And now, if I go back to export, I've got this folder called print, and you can see there is an untitled -1.edit, which is like 7.9 megs. Oh, I did a mistake. I did a big mistake. I forgot to take out, let me go to export again, export. I forgot to take out the resize to fit. I don't want to resize to fit. I want the best pixel possible. So I'm going to export, and it's going to tell me, oh, the fully fonts already exist. I'm going to click overwrite. Okay, so I'm overwriting this one. I'm going to do it again for the other one, export. So I'm going to go back to TIFF, 16-bit sRGB export. It's going to say it exists. I'm going to say overwrite again. And I just want to show you the difference of size if you're printing. So the JPEG on my left is 4.3 megas, And on my right is the edit, which is 22 megabits, which is kind of fine because it's got no layer, but it's still the best quality possible if you want to send them. I use Bay Photo, which I think is really cool to print in the US, and I use mabelphoto.com in France to print when I'm in Europe. Okay, so basically that is how you export the photo. Now, let's go to the next module, which is the map module. Now, the map module is probably the module I use the least, and the purpose of the map module is to basically, well, either you've got GPS data on your photos and you can click on your photo and you will know where it is on the planet, or you can add, you can add GPS data. For example, this photo I took on the Pont Neuf. This is Paris because that's probably the last location I checked for, but you can type any city. So I'm going to zoom in, okay, here. And I'm going to find the Pont Neuf bridge, which I know is here. And I'm going to take that photo and drop it there because that's where it was taken. And now, enable address lookup, yes. And now what's going to happen, it's now it's searching for all the GPS data, but I don't think I have much GPS data on any of these photos. But now you can see there is GPS coordinate. Now, why is that important? Some websites, I think including Flickr, use your GPS data to better index your photo. So before you put them on Flickr, it could be interesting before you export them, like what we did before, that you give them some GPS data. For example, the Louvre is here, and I shot this exactly here in the Louvre. This is again the Pont Neuf, which I shot exactly from here. Actually, that's the view from here. This is Notre Dame, and that's the view from here, etc., etc. Okay, so not much to say on the map module. It just, if I had a photo from an iPhone, for example, it would give me exactly where this was taken. Oh, there is one use for it though. Let's say you're traveling, on holidays, and all of a sudden you see a beautiful forest, but you will not remember where that is. You don't know where you are on the map. You just take your iPhone, you take a photo of that forest, and once you're in a map module, forever you will know the GPS coordinate, and you can go back there. And that's what I use for location scouting. I use my iPhone, I take photos, and then I use the map module to find the exact address where I've been everywhere. So that's a good use of the map module. Now let's go and make a book. Let's make a book on Paris. So I'm going to go to book. Now I'm not going to go into detail so much on it, but remember we did a collection at first on Paris. So I've got 11 photos there. They're all selected. And basically, I'm going to use a function called auto layout. Auto layout. And I'm going to click on clear layout. And basically what it's going to do is going to take all my photos here, and it's going to lay them out based on a preset that I use. On this one, it's called New York Book preset, but I can create a new preset. So you will see edit auto layout preset. And basically here, I'm saying, okay, on the left side of my book, how many photos do I want? 1, 2, or 3? I'm going to put one photo on the left side, okay? And then I want 2 photos, and only 2 photos on the right side, every time. That's the way my book works, okay? You can do whatever you want. And I'm not going to go from random from favorite. I'm going to go from, I'm going to take them on the fixed layout, or fixed layout. Okay, you see fixed layout is all the different layout that's in Lightroom. Oh, actually, no. You know what? I'm going to go random from favorite, and I'll show you why later on. I show you how random from favorite works. Okay, basically, so all I'm doing here, I'm saying, do all the layout for my book for me. And on the left side of my book, I want 1 photo, and on the right side, I want 2 photos. Okay, zoom photos to fit. I want them to fit. And match long age, I'll show you what that is before. I'm going to save, and I'm going to call this Paris book. Okay, and it's just going to give me a start. Okay, and now I created a Paris book layout. I click on auto layout, and boom, and now I've got some of my book. So let's say that I want this to be my book cover, not my back cover. I can just click here and drag and drop it and change this. This is now my front cover. This is my back cover. That's my first. You see, that's a right page. All the right pages now have 2 photos, okay? And you have different views. So this is the overall view. I can zoom in to see closer, and it put some random text there, which is cool. Okay, and then I can just, so this is the 2 spread view, and I can just go to the next 2 spreads. So on the left side, as I told you, I have 1 big photo, and on the right side, I've got 2 small photos. I kind of like that. It's kind of cool. And the entire book is like this. And you can, you know, move around the photo to position better. You can, let's say that I want to do a different layout on this one. I don't want this. Let me take an example of some, yeah, for example, this 2. I don't like this layout. Well, you can just click here on this little arrow and you've got a whole bunch of layouts. Now, the one which is in favorite is the one I have picked, but you can just go to, for example, 4 photos, and you've got a whole bunch of layout. I'm going to go to 2 photos because there is only 2 photos there, and maybe I want to do a layout like this. And now, well, it doesn't really make sense, but why not? It could be an artsy effect, you know. And I carry on, and I can change like this all the layouts of every pages. On this one, let's say I want to make 3 photos. I'm just going to add one. I can just drag and drop and add another one. Reposition each one inside. And voila. And you just go through your book like this. When you're at the end, you can just add pages by clicking here, add a page. And by default, it took this layout, which is the last one that I used. But I could have taken, you know, a 4 photo layout like this and add a page. And I can just drag and drop the photos in that layout. So I invite you to explore all the layouts and, you know, do a book like this. Once you're finished with the book, you've got 2 choices. You can use blurb, and you can see here they have different size of, you know, standard landscape, large landscape. They have basically 5 formats. They have a deal with Adobe where you can use it. I've used them many times, you know, when I go on holidays and I really like a place. I just do a little book so that I will remember the holidays. And, you know, the cheapest one is probably if you go like a small square, okay, and soft cover, okay, paper type premium Lightroom, logo page on. So this whole book so far is costing me 13 euros, 14 euros. If I take the logo off, if I don't want a logo, it's going to cost me $5 more. It's going to cost me, well, yeah, $5 more. So I want the logo on. I don't care. It's just a little logo they put at the end. It's very small. It's not intrusive. Here, that's the logo at the end. That's how it costs. Anyways, I'm not going to go into all these settings. You can find out by yourself, but that's the general idea on how you make a book. It's really very simple, and there's no substitute for your own practicing. Once your book is totally laid out, you can just send the book to Blurb by clicking here, and it's going to connect you. You create an account there, and you can just get your book about a week later. Or you can export your book as a PDF, which is what I'm going to do here. I'm going to go back to my export folder. I'm going to call Paris book, and I'm going to export it as a PDF. Okay, it does it pretty fast. There's not much pages, so I'm going to go back to the folder. And now I've got the PDF here. I'm going to double click on it. And boom. Let's see here. This is my book. So every page, it's like a PDF, and every page has the layout as I proposed. It didn't put the text. The text was a dummy text. But voila, if you want to make a fast PDF presentation, that's a good way to go about it. All right, there's a lot more to say about the book module, but that's all I'm going to say today. Now, slideshow. Let's go and make a slideshow about Paris. Now, that's very cool to do. Let's say you want to promote yourself on YouTube. This is a good use. You know, slideshows is great for that. So I'm on the first photo. Here's my collection of Paris. And I'm going to click here on zoom in to fill the frame. I think that's a good idea. So that's my frame. Stroke border, no, I don't want a stroke border. Cast shadow, I don't want a cast shadow. I actually want all my photos to be full screen. So you see here, I have some margin, 45 pixels everywhere. I'm going to put this down to 0. So now I've got no margin. This is a title thing. I'm going to take this out by pressing, oops, sorry. I pressed enter or instead of delete. I'm going to press delete to take, I don't want my star system to appear here. Okay, and it's very easy. I can make text overlay. I'm not going to do it. Watermarking, I don't want. The stars, I took it out. And yeah, I want a really full screen thing. Okay, you can put an intro screen. So I'm going to do that, an intro screen. And you see it says Photo Serge Piedmont. I'm going to edit that, and I'm going to call this like Welcome to Paris. Welcome to Paris. I'm going to choose a very white color. Okay, and here you can see the scale, the size. So I'm going to make it big. Welcome to Paris. I'm going to do an ending screen also. Okay, which I'm going to edit, and I'm going to call the end. The end. I don't know why I'm calling it the end. Some idea I got from some movie somewhere. Okay, same thing. I'm going to make this white. Okay, and if you go on scale, you can decide how big you want. Good. Music. Now I want some music, so I downloaded some royalty-free music, which I have here. Okay, so I'm just selecting this. And slideshow, I'm not going to do sync slide to music because I've got too little photos for that. But slide length is 4 seconds, crossfade is 2.5. Okay, and I can just click on preview and see how this goes. So preview is... Okay, if you press the space bar, that's the end of the preview. And if you want to see in full screen, you can just go to the first photo and click on play, and then you will see the whole thing in full screen. Oh, except it's rendering on my other screen. Hold on. I've got two screens, so I'm going to click so that it renders on the right screen. All right, now I don't like the gray that's around there. So let's see here. Zoom to fill frame, yeah. Stroke border again, blah, blah, blah. Color wash, I'm going to take the color wash out. Or I'm going to put black as a color wash behind, so it's black behind. I'm going to take background color out. Yeah, and let's see how that plays now. Okay, I like that. Okay, so now we did a slideshow. We can export it as a PDF, in which case it's going to be like the book. You're just going to get the photos, or export it as a video, which I'm going to do here now. I'm going to call it Slideshow Paris. Boom. And I'm exporting it, and it's going to create a video that can just load on YouTube. And one thing I didn't show you is when you click export video, you get different options here. I choose 1080p, which is like full HD, which is the best that we have. It doesn't do 4K. I think you can tweak it to make it on 4K, but that's not the purpose of this. Okay, so we still have two modules to go for, is the print and the web. So I'm going to put on pause until the slideshow is exported so you can see the MP4 file. Finder, and here you can see the slideshow paris.mp4 if I press on the spacebar. Here is the video, which is the full slideshow. Bam, 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 with all the photos and the music. Pretty cool stuff. All right, let's jump over to the print module. Now, the print module, I don't print much from Lightroom, but there's one option that I use. I'm just going to go through very fast the different print options. Basically, you have the possibility of printing a single image or a contact sheet. So if I select all of these photos, now, or a picture package, or a custom package. Now, single image and contact sheet. Let's say you want to archive some of your photos and you save them on a CD and you want to do a little cover to see what's inside. That's just an idea. You can use the contact sheet option. There you have all the photos selected from my collection. And you can see here you have like page grid. Now right now there's just one row, but if I start adding rows, you can see we see more photos, and if I start adding columns, we see more photos. And I could just directly print that, boom, to my printer, click here, print, and I would have this printed, okay? Let's say I only want to print one photo. Well, in this case, I would row and column, I would keep it at 1. That's the photo I want to print. I can zoom in to fill so that it fills in the paper, but you see we still have a margin. That margin is the margin that's on your printer. If you want to take that margin off, you have to go to page setup, and then you have to take like an A4 borderless, for example. I'm from Europe, or let's see if they have an 8x10 borderless, for example. Okay, good. And now that I've put a borderless, I can go to my margin and take them out and really print with no margin. And I just have to, and also of course I have to put the height and the width of the size. So now I'm printing in full screen, just that could be something. Or if you want to get, then if you want to have a stroke border, you can add a stroke border like this, and for example click here to choose the color. That could be another way. So I would use this to print, okay, one photo. Now the picture package is the most stupid option I find, because the way the picture package works is that you can add, I'm going to show you here, different photo size here. Okay, you see different photos, and if I drag and drop a photo, boom, it's going to be the same one everywhere. So it reminds me, you know, when you are in school and you have like an identity photo and you've got different format. That's probably why I will use it. Let me see. I'm not going to rotate to fit. I don't want to rotate my photos, but I can place them. But you see, it's always going to be the same photo. I can have all the size that I want. Okay, I can drag and drop and just create whatever I want in terms of size. But if I change a photo, for example, put this instead, all the photos are going to change. So I'm not sure this is very useful, but whatever. It could be useful to some people. That's so you just create the layout you want, you drag and drop them, and you boom, you print. Now, custom package. That I've been using a lot. Let's say that you want to make a nice presentation of your photos of Paris. And now, I love to do that. What I can do is I can just drag and drop a photo and have a white canvas. Now it's a legal paper that I put into a portrait mode. I can just drag and drop, you know, and make a little collage, maybe something a bit original like this, and get this photo like this. Okay, put this one, this very long one, maybe like this. And you can do that in Photoshop, but it takes a lot of time. In here, it's super fast. Okay, you see now, if I want to squeeze that photo in there, there is an option which is locked to the photo aspect ratio. I'm going to take that off, so I can just make this like this here, and like this here, and then oops, voila. And if I want to reposition it inside, oops, no, it's going to be the command key. Yeah, you press the command key and you can reposition it inside like this. Okay, and let's do one more here. Okay, I'm gonna put this one like this. Boom. And because to make collage like this, I think it's very fast and very effective. You see, it's rotating, so I don't want it rotate to fit. I don't want that option. I'm gonna make this like this. Okay, and maybe this one here on top. Oops, like this. Okay, I use a command key to change it. Voila. You can use a command key to change however you want. So, you know, it took me a few seconds to do this. Let's say I want to have a border on this. You can just click add a photo border and the border is going to go everywhere. That can be kind of cool. And of course I can print it, but I can also, instead of print to printer, I can go into a JPEG file and print this into a JPEG file. So print to file. And here you decide also if you want to sharpen it. I'm going to do a little bit of sharpening. And if you want the file to be very big or not, this is how you choose. So if I put 300 ppi, it's going to be a big high resolution file. That's a JPEG that I can use to print later on. Let's say I'm just doing this for Facebook. I don't need such a big, I can go to 100 ppi. That should be enough. 100 ppi, print to file. I'm going to go into my master Lightroom. I'm going to, and I'm going to call this Paris. Collage, my friend, collage. And it's going to prepare that, and now I go to the Finder, and I've got a Paris collage, and look how it looks. It's, imagine I had to do this in Photoshop, it would be weird. And if, it would be long, sorry. And let's say that I don't like actually the fact that it's white borders. I can just, on the photo border, actually I can take the photo border out and add an inner stroke, and have it basically black. And boom, I can just print to file again and use the same name, click save, it's going to replace. And now I've got a black border everywhere. And boom. Okay, well, something is weird inside, because you can see there's a little bit of a gray area. Okay. That's probably because there is a little stroke here. The inner stroke smaller, print to file, and let's see if it solves the issue. yeah, so, sometimes you discover a little issue, but you know, you get the idea. You have to play around with it, but yeah, okay, now I got a kind of cool collage. I still have a little thing going on there, but you get the idea. That's basically a very fast way of making very fast collage. And you got many options you should explore there, and make it really cool. Okay, last but not least is the web. Let's say I want to make a little web presentation with all this Paris photo. And good thing is that Lightroom CC is got this new options, you know, to make HTML5 website, which didn't have. That's the classic gallery, which is really not nice. But now they got the grid gallery, which is really cool because it's HTML5, or the square gallery, which I like even more. Okay, that's the square gallery. Now some photos it's got a watermark, so I don't want any watermarking. I'm going to take that out. No watermarking. Okay, sharpening is kind of cool. So in one click, you basically have a website. You've got different options you should explore there. You know, large images. When you click on an image, you can decide the size it's going to appear on a website. You see, that's the quality. I can make it. No, sorry. That's the quality, sorry, of the image, the compression. Let me see what options we have here. Some size, we have small, large, or medium. If I go large and I go back here to, I click here to go back to my gallery. See, this is large. Let me see here. Okay, small. All right, I think I'm going to go to medium. I like medium. Okay, medium. So it's basically like a template, but you know, it's a very fast way to send photos to your client. I think it's really kind of cool. Quality, I'm going to keep it there. Labels, I'm not going to put the title or the caption. Sharpening, I'm going to leave it standard. Now, this is where it gets a little bit tricky. Is for this to work, you're going to have FTP codes. What that is means you have a website and you have access to that website with a login and a password where you can load some web pages. Okay, now I'm going to go to edit my custom settings, and here is my FTP data. What I'm not going to show you for confidential reasons, of course, but basically FTP data is one website. It's a web address, okay? Then it's a login and a password, and then eventually a server pass, but I would leave that empty. But you do it just once. So once I've put in all my FTP code, all I have to do, my FTP code goes to a special place on the web, but I have a special, let's say, a root address that I use. But here you have FTP server. You can put in whatever subfolder. So this one I put Paris, and I click on upload. Now I've already done it, and now you can go on the web, and if you go to photoserge.com/psapps, which is my root, like all the galleries that I use, they all have the same root, and then Paris, and it's live for everybody to see, and I can just send that link to a client. So it's a really cool way. All you have to have is an FTP code. It's a really cool way to send out your photos to your customers. So voilà, I hope you enjoyed this essential walkthrough Lightroom CC. It's an amazing software I've been using for many years. And don't forget to check out my Lightroom CC course with the promo code Serge, so you can get 37% off of it, and really explore Lightroom for the power of what it is. Thank you so much, guys, and I will see you in another episode.